All right, Dodgers fans, this might be the biggest story of the offseason, and it's already sending shockwaves across Major League Baseball. Reports are flying that the Los Angeles Dodgers are closing in on the next Japanese baseball sensation, a power-hitting slugger with legit 50 home run potential. Yeah, you heard that right. 50 home runs. If this deal happens, the Dodgers could become completely unstoppable, and let's be honest, the rest of the league is terrified. MLB executives are reportedly worried, and rival teams, they're furious just thinking about it. But before we dive into all the details, make sure to hit that subscribe button and help us reach 10,000 subscribers. This is the home of real Dodgers fans, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. So let's get into it. Here's what ESPN is saying about the new Japanese superstar possibly joining the Dodgers.
His bat in the lineup anymore. And that's precisely why Pages was on the bench.
And so what's next for the Dodgers to three-peat? What rostering is first up, first order, anything? Or they're going to be able to run it back? What do you got for me, Jeff?
They never run it back. They always are looking to add. And the scary part, I think, for fans of anyone other than the Dodgers right now, is not only are they returning Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow and Shohei Ohtani to their rotation, not only do they still have Emmett Sheehan and Justin Wrobleski and Roki Sasaki, who, by the way, is still going to be a starting pitcher. River Ryan coming back from major surgery. Gavin Stone coming back from major surgery. And what this allows is for the Dodgers, between that and their surplus of minor league outfielders, to go out and make a trade and try and get a big chip from somewhere. I don't know if that's a closer. I don't know if that's an outfielder, but those are the two obvious places that they need to address. I do not think they're going to be heavy in on Kyle Tucker in free agency. I think that he's the sort of guy who they might approach in a similar tack to what they did with Bryce Harper, half a decade back. Like, hey, we'll give you a very high number on a shorter number of years. But Kyle Tucker, because of his age, because he understands this is his big bite at the apple, is much likelier to seek out, say, a 10-year deal or 11 or 12 years, one of the not quite Juan Soto level, but a contract of that ilk, more than a shorter term, higher average annual value deal like the Dodgers would want.
Okay, because I was waiting for you to say this fellow Murakami, who's been posted today, he'll just be the latest guy from Japan who wants to play for the Dodgers, willing to defer everything to 2042. You know what I mean? Maybe he wants to. Where does he fit? The Dodgers just picked up Max Muncy's option. Murakami plays third base. The Dodgers have Freddie Freeman at first base. He's not going anywhere. And they have Shohei Ohtani at DH. Murakami's probably not athletic enough to be an outfielder. He's much likelier to be an infielder. So I don't know that the fit is there. But then again, if he wants to sign for below market value just because he wants to go to the Dodgers, then
get out of here.
I mean, at that point,
get out of here. Get out of here.
Get out of here. There's a team in New England, Jeff, that has a hole at third base.
Well, Yankees too, man. You're going to be kidding me. The Yankees have a massive glaring hole at third base that I thought they were going to fill with the guy you filled it with last year in Alex Bregman, who just opted out.
Now you can get him.
So I botched the fella's name, Murakami.
Munetaka Murakami.
Tell us about him, please. Tell us about him.
At 22 years old, Rich, he set the single season record in Nippon professional baseball for home runs hit by a Japanese-born player, breaking a record that Sadaharu Oh had owned since 1964. Murakami has enormous power, the kind of power that dynasties have been built upon. And yet he's got a glaring flaw in that he swings and misses a lot.
Oh,
and
perfect
he strikes
Yankee.
out a lot.
That's a perfect Yankee. I mean, honestly, like Cashman's probably going all the way over there to personally, bring him over on the Steinbrenner jet. That sounds like a perfect Yankee, Jeff. Perfect.
It's really interesting to me, Rich. I'm curious to see how this offseason players who have extreme bat to ball skills are valued by the industry, considering that the Toronto Blue Jays made the World Series in large part because of their ability to put the bat on the ball.
You bet.
And as a baseball fan, as someone who my whole life I have just adored this game, man, I loved watching the Blue Jays play. What a fun team to watch, not just because of the bat to ball, but because they were able to combine that with superior slug as well. It shows the two are not mutually exclusive. If you're hitting the ball, you don't have to hit it soft. You can have your cake and eat it too. And on top of that, the defense that the Blue Jays played, like, they were just a really fundamentally sound team. And Bo Bichette's return, I think, did him a great service going into free agency this offseason, knowing that he is not at 100% by any means. His knee was messed up. He was out for 7 weeks, and he came back and essentially looked like he hadn't lost a step, playing a position that he hadn't played since when he was in the minor leagues. I mean, it was just a phenomenal performance by him. And his free agency, among Tucker and Framber Valdez and Dylan Cease and Pete Alonso, there are a lot of big names, Alex Bregman. Like, it's going to be a really interesting winter in terms of free agents and seeing where they land. And Bo Bichette, to me, is near the top of the list of those interesting players, because our team's going to want him as a shortstop, where he was below average defensively last season. Are they going to move him to second or third base? What does a guy like him, who's, his value is best tied to his ability to hit for average, right? Mm-hmm. And batting average is just not something, generally speaking, that's valued at a high level in Major League Baseball. And yet Bichette's also got slug. He doesn't strike out. There's more to it than batting average, but that's one of those components. It's going to be nice to see it get paid this offseason, because I think batting average does still matter.
All right, guys, following that bombshell report from ESPN, things are getting even more interesting. From what's being said inside the organization, the Dodgers' plan is to keep Max Muncy on the bench, not to push him out completely, but to let him take on more of a leadership and clubhouse role while giving a younger, more explosive player the chance to take over at third base. It's a bold move, but it makes total sense. The Dodgers need more consistent contact and power at the plate, especially after what we saw in the postseason, when the bats completely went cold. Adding a young star with elite hitting potential could be exactly what this lineup needs to dominate from top to bottom. And now, to take this to the next level, let's hear from someone who really knows how teams are built. Former MLB GM Jim Bowden, who spoke on CBS Sports about how Munetaka Murakami could fit into this powerhouse Dodgers roster. Let's check out what he had to say.
From the world of baseball, Japanese slugger Munetaka Murakami is posted today. That's per multiple reports. That will open up a 45-day window for major league clubs to negotiate with Murakami and his Japanese club. The 25-year-old corner infielder is considered one of the most significant bats to come over from Japan in recent years. In 2022, he set the NPB single-season record for Japanese-born players with 56 home runs, breaking the record set by the great Sadaharu Oh back in 1964. Our MLB expert Jim Bowden here for even more on the Munetaka Murakami news. And Jim, my first question to you is, if you just heard all the news and the noise going down in our newsroom when this Murakami news came out, of everyone saying, well, what exactly is posting? I'm sure there's a lot of folks at home right now who hear us say that and they don't understand it fully. Can you explain to all the folks, like we might be children, what posting means and what this says going forward?
Yeah, so over in Japan in the NPB League, the Tokyo Cyclone Swallows is the team that Murakami has been in. And so they have now posted him, which means all 30 major league clubs can bid on him beginning on Saturday morning. Now, he is 25 years old. Now, why is that significant? Because the rules say if you're under 25, then you are restricted with the international pool system, something that Roki Sasaki of the Dodgers was limited to last year, which means you could only make between $4 to $9 million. Because he's 25 years old, this becomes an open bidding war. Now, what does posting mean? Well, what it means to the Tokyo team is they're going to get 20% of his contract for the first $25 million that he signs for. They're going to get 17.5% on the next 25 million, and anything over 50 million, he's going to get well beyond 50 million, they're going to get 15%. So the Tokyo team is going to get a lot of cash in there, not just Murakami. So that's what the posting system means.
So if we're talking all this kind of money, you're saying you're expecting him to get over $50 million. What type of player is Murakami? Who are we looking at here?
Yeah, so I think he'll get somewhere between 100 and 200 million. I know that's a big range, but you just don't know what teams are going to do. This is a legitimate, ridiculous power hitter. Right? He does profile as a 30 to 40 home run type guy. Think of the power of Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso. That's the kind of power, and maybe even more. The raw power is ridiculous. Now, what comes with him is a good on-base percentage. He'll walk, but the problem with the player, he's got a lot of swing and miss. He's got a lot of strikeouts. He's going to strike out once every 3 times in the big leagues, at least. Now, he could develop here. He could cut that down in time. We'll have to find out, but that's a weakness. But you make a mistake in the zone, he's going to hurt you, and he's going to hurt some upper deck seats. Now, in terms of defensively, he's a third baseman / first baseman. He has played both positions. He's also dealt with a lot of injuries. This past year, he had elbow surgery, had an oblique injury, but still hit 24 homers in 69 games. Now, when you look at Murakami, below average defense at third, but with a lot of work, he could develop into a Max Muncy type defensive third baseman. If not, you could put him at first base and work him there. Again, maybe a Josh Naylor type defensive player at first base. Not great, but probably will be able to hold his own. But he's a young kid. I've got to watch him for many years. I actually called in the last World Baseball Classic. I called his games. Loved watching him in BP. It's a very loud noise coming off the bat. So there's going to be a lot of teams that step up here, Zach. And I think the teams to watch, without a doubt, include the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Seattle Mariners, and the Boston Red Sox. I would start with those 4 teams.
So I'll delve a little bit deeper into the teams that he might end up landing with a little bit down the road. But I'm curious most about player comp, because you mentioned the power of Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso, maybe a little bit of the defensive deficiencies in his game. Who do you look at right now and say, this is who he's closely modeled after?
Yeah, I mean, it's confusing because of the strikeouts, right? That takes most comps away. I would say the floor is probably a Max Muncy player, right? So not a guy that's going to hit 2, 3, 4 in your lineup, but more of a guy that can hit in the 5 spot or the 6 spot and give you that big power. But he will get on base. And, you know, I think he's a developmental kind of player. I think there's more of a window. But I would say that's the floor, and I would say the ceiling is probably, and I have to go back in time to find him, but maybe Harmon Killebrew.
We've been down this road before with the Dodgers, seeing them just open up the pocketbook, get whoever they want, and they bring them over, and they continue to win. Why in this situation can you convince me, and can you convince me that it won't be the Dodgers? And I know you mentioned a few other teams.
Well, I'm not going to convince you of that because they have built such a strong group of Japanese players, from Shohei Ohtani to Hiroki Sasaki to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the MVP of the World Series. And to bring over a young guy like Murakami, why wouldn't he want to play with all the players he played for in Japan? Why wouldn't he? Now, the other thing for the Dodgers, people are going to say, well, they just picked up Max Muncy's $10 million club option. Sure they did. They could also trade him, right? They could trade him to one of these teams that need a third baseman, like the Mariners, who would certainly love to trade for Muncy with that affordable salary they has. The other thing the Dodgers could say is, we'll start the year with Muncy as our third baseman. We'll bring Murakami over to develop so that he can take over the position full-time in 2027 when Muncy comes off the books. Everything points to that being the perfect spot for him. So I'm not going to talk you off of that, just because I know if I'm that player, who wouldn't want to go to a team that just won the last 2 World Series with 3 of your friends being a very important part of that team? So I'm not going to convince you. I think the Dodgers have to be heavy favorites to land him.
Let's say we're going to treat Murakami like a normal free agent right now, already playing in the majors. And if he is here in the pool with all the guys like a Kyle Tucker, a Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, where do you rank Murakami on that list?
I'm going to put him after that group of players that you just mentioned. I would say he is, without a doubt, top 15 of the free agents in this particular class. But I think Bo Bichette, Alex Bregman, Pete Alonso, Kyle Schwarber, all of them should rank above him. Again, it's the swing and miss in his game and the below average defense that puts him just a peg below that group of guys. But keep in mind, he also has that ceiling of ridiculous power. And that's special. There's not a lot of power, in this game that can hit 40, 50 homers. So, a lot of teams. And the other big part about him is his age. He's 25. So, you're talking about a long-term solution where you got guys that like Alonso and Schwarber are already in their 30s.
When you look just at players coming over from Japan, what do you have more faith and confidence in, a position player or a pitcher?
Pitcher. Pitchers are really easy from a scouting perspective to identify how they would succeed against major league hitters. You can really measure it. The competition is as important as the stuff, the command, the delivery, the deception, the extension, the movement. All of that, we can, as evaluators, we can look at that and tell you how it's going to translate easy. The difficult part with a hitter is that the pitching's completely different, the size of the baseball is different, the seams are different. There's a lot of different things as a hitter. So how is he going to hit when he has to face major league pitching, which, as you guys know, this day and age, everyone throws 95 to 100. Everybody's got the splitter or the breaking ball that's going to have tremendous movement. So because pitchers have gotten so much better here, it's different than the pitching in Japan. That being said, the elite talents like Shohei Ohtani obviously stand out, and they're just different than everyone else. Murakami's a little more difficult because that's a lot of swing and miss in Japan. There's a lot of pitchers in Japan that don't try to get you to chase. So that's the part of his game that's going to be interesting to see how it translates. And again, that's why I have him behind Bregman and Bichette and Alonso and Schwarber, because there is a little bit of unknown there on the hit tool.
Let the sweepstakes begin for Munetaka Murakami, and we will see how it all plays out and how much money ends up going into his pockets and for his team in Japan later on down the road. Jim Bowden, thank you so much. We appreciate it as we take a look at Murakami's numbers over his time spent in the NPB. When you look at it, ranking back to 2019, the most in all those categories except for OPS, but one category you don't want to be the most in, as Jim was just touching on, those strikeout numbers, 972 playing over there since 2019.
All right, Dodgers fans, now it's your turn. I really want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think about the idea of adding Munetaka Murakami to this already stacked Dodgers lineup? Do you think his power bat could be the missing piece that puts us over the top? Or is this just gonna make the rest of MLB hate the Dodgers even more? Because let's be real, if this move happens, the rivalry is about to get spicy. The league's already nervous, and the other teams, they're probably losing sleep just thinking about it. So drop your thoughts below, Dodgers Nation. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. You don't want to miss what's coming next. This offseason is just getting started. I'm Victor, and this is latest Los Angeles Dodgers news. See you in the next one.